Hey there everybody, got another live stream for you here, trying to squeeze in a few more of these before we head off to Gen Con. Now this is something a little bit different. We've got a creature caster figure here. It's one of those new infantry miniatures. Now I'm not going to bother to set up the chat window. I'm just going to have this over here on the side. And this, yeah, I think this is going to be better. I'm just going to do this right over here and we'll see what happens. Now you can see there's a couple of figures here. See this reference picture over here. That's just for colors because I want to get that bluish gray in the claws. You can see she has looks like 4 of them right here or 3, maybe even on the horns too, and in the hair. And do some of the same kind of flesh tone here. Yeah, let's check that out. So again, let's have a purplish gray there, and then we also have some of the spots. And I think that'll show off the ProAcryl line real well, because that's what we're going to be working with here. And that scene's going to come up. And I really enjoy these paints here. Yeah. And they've just added a bunch more. And you can see the transparents right here. I've got my cursor kind of flying over those. Those will probably be an after Gen Con, and I'm going to do some more demos on those. And these are the infantry figures here. Just gonna, it takes a little bit while for those to come up. So I think you can see the right over here. So even here you have a little bit of that purple and some of the teal. So we're gonna try and match a couple of these different color schemes here. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna leave the brightness turned down just a little bit here. And we also have a nifty base. So I'm going to be painting this along the lines of, say, peacock's feathers here, because I think the teals and greens and blues there will be a nice set-off for the miniature itself. So we'll do that too. And let's start to put out some of these colors. Now I'll just talk about the brushes real quick. So, as usual, we have our number 8 round craft brushes, and when they're new, see if they got the pristine sharp point, but once they've been used for a little bit and they get a little more worn down, now you have something like this. As I rotate this around, see that nice chisel edge, which is the same as the point on your original brush. That is just really handy for a lot of different things. Not for dry brushing necessarily. See how soft that is? Holds more paint. So this is really a Swiss Army brush. Really enjoy this brush. So what we'll do is we're going to throw out a few colors here. Let's get this, I think it's just regular purple. Yeah. There's also a nifty dark blue that I want to throw out there. We're probably going to go with some of the faded ultramarine as well. That's this one right here. I think it's one of my favorite. Well, everybody loves jade, and we'll get that out there in a second. But this faded ultramarine is one that I really like because it's sort of in that halfway range. Yeah, I like it so much, it's mostly gone. There's not much left here. And I'm going to look at the chat in a second here here, let's bring that up, see if we can see anybody in there. Alright. Now, where is my... Here it is. This is another one of my favorites right here. This dark gray blue. I really enjoy it. And I think you can tell from the color on the reference pictures that we're definitely going to be making use of this. So, as you can see, it's another one where I've used an awful lot of it. This is another favorite of mine here, the dark umber. Really love this. We're going to use this on the base. So we're going to throw this over here. And we got our jade. Again, everybody seems to love jade. Everybody seems to like that. There we go. Out comes the jade. And let's get... This is another one that I enjoy here. This bright warm gray. It's another one of those off-whites. Oh gosh, what is it? Not Maiden... Well, Maiden Flesh is the warm off-white that I use in the Reaper colors all the time. But the maggot white. So this is sort of the equivalent of the maggot white in the in your creature caster series here. These paints do act a little bit differently, I would say, than a lot of the other stuff that you're used to seeing me work with. They're thicker. They also they cover really, really well. You're used to me using the Reaper Clear and liner paints, and that's not really what they're about. They're more of a translucent kind of thing, which I love so much. But we're gonna work with these. Hey Tyler, how's it going? All right, so now we know where our chat is. I'm gonna move this over here so that I can still see it while we're doing this. That's better. All right, so we got our palette in the window for you. So what I'm gonna do is throw, because I'm gonna get that brown into here real quick, so that has a little chance to set up. So we're just taking regular old water, throwing it in with that dark umber. No big deal. Now I could use some mahogany too, but we'll just use the coal black. We'll throw that out there also. Why not? Not a bunch of it, just a little. It's also going to help gray down some of our blues. So if you're wondering what this is, it's just cork and the Green Stuff Sowrld Texture roller. And I'll show you that in a second. Here. I just want to get these initial little colors in here. So these will have a chance to dry while we're doing some of our other stuff. Timing is everything. And sometimes when you have to wait for things to dry, and if you use oil paints, you'll really learn about that. And we're just going to fire in some of this. And then I'm going to really water it down, and we'll just throw it over the top, and that'll bring out the texture even more. Give me more of a reference to work from. And as always, we have our makeup sponges. And we're just going to pull some of that away. We're going to do this on the miniature too. There we go. And sometimes I do this also, maybe some stray rocks that didn't get glued on there very securely. Sometimes those come off, and it's better to have those come off now as opposed to later. There is your texture roller. I think you can really see some of that fun texture. Yeah. So we'll set that aside now. Oh, and if you're wondering, this is one of the primary colors that I use to prime it. It's the usual Badger Steiner Res. Did this and then sort of a white over the top. Kept it simple. I don't want to get too crazy with priming, because that's what paint is for. Alright, so what we'll do, we are going to get in here. This is a little bit of a mix of the purple and that bluish gray, and right away, see, we get a nice, cool, darker purple. And I'm just going to start to, look at that. That is a very nice, it's not super saturated, but yet it actually has a lot of intensity to it. Look at that. I just really enjoy that. Now we can also make this semi-translucent perhaps. Maybe not. I'm going to make that even a little more blue here in the interior. And speaking of blue, we're also going to start thinking about some of these claws. But let's see what happens when we make this a little bit more on the watery side. So it's almost like we're doing a bit of a wash here. So what we're going to do is, I just took most of the paint out of there. And we're going to remove some paint. So in just a matter of seconds there, now you have a little bit of a transition. We can use a couple of things. We can use this type of sponge, but I also have my smaller sponges like these. Now these tend to remove paint a little more forcefully. But look at how much is coming off right there. Yeah. So we can do both things, but you saw the utility of this brush where you just sort of take the paint out of it and then we wipe some away. I love that possibility of being able to do that. So let's get a little bit here. I'm going to get a little more of the straight up purple in there as we work our way around the cloak or whatever article of clothing it happens to be. And you can see we're getting a little more intense and lighter with the purple there. Here, let's get the other side of that now. And then I'm going to go back to this lighter purple. This is what we used on the lower leg there. Then this is more watered down. That's something that I've noticed. If you look at some of my other YouTube tutorials with the ProAcryls, you'll see I've already done a couple of 2D paintings with those, because they see how they make kind of a nice watercolor essentially. But now we're going to utilize a little bit of the blue there. May want to go with some gold armor here, maybe. So here we're going to take that paint away, and we're going to take some paint away. Same thing here. Oh, hello there, Marine. Der Marine. I hope I pronounced that correctly. I'm less up to speed on my German. There was one point when I was doing my Facebook lives that I was bound and determined to, oh gosh, I was going to have to learn Korean and some Polish greetings in different languages, so that I just, instead of saying, hey there, I could offer a little more of an appropriate greeting than just hey there. So now we're starting to think about, here, I'm going to take a little bit of that coal black even, and even at this stage, I'm just going to let that mix in there. That's that watercolorist. It's the watercolorist in me trying to come through. There we are, back into that. Now that's got the coal black in there. Turns it a little more towards the gray. Closest thing, actually right now this is going back a ways, but the old Games Workshop Shadow Gray. Yeah, that's what I'm seeing right here. And I wonder if I might have, well, the reference picture you're looking at came from, what, 2012, 2013, somewhere in there. So it's been a while. And the whole idea of this, we're just trying to get rid of all the primer, obviously. But we're also trying to establish some kind of a color theme here. We're establishing our lights and darks. So we can do the same thing, or we can pull away some of that. Now for the hair. Well, so-called hair, it's really more tentacle than hair. There we are. And what's interesting is when you put this is your, I just like to call it an underlayment. Underpainting, there's lots of, basically means the same thing. Now let's go back to some more purple here. There we go. Let's work our way down. I've got to just get down in all of these crevices here. So it's best to hit those now. Instead of trying to paint around a bunch of stuff, it just doesn't make any sense. This is a little different than a lot of the stuff that I've done lately, a lot of the Song of Ice and Fire. You've got obviously a lot of delicacy here. Now this is where we're going to water this down a touch. Might even mix in a bit of the faded ultramarine. I'm going to throw this and over the face. All I want to do is get rid of, well, it's not white primer, but get rid of all the primer color. So we're doing that same thing again. We take away some of the paint. I could wipe it on a paper towel if I wanted to. See how we just remove some of that paint right there? There we are. So even now, we're starting to get some interesting stuff happening. I have to figure out, what is this flame going to be? What's that going to be? And you know what? There's going to be one color here that's not necessarily going to be from Creature Caster. But let's dig this out because I like it. Let's throw some fluorescent magenta out here. What the heck? What have we got to lose? Now let's see. This is... Here we go. This stuff is really on the thick side, and you'll see what I mean once it gets out here. See how thick that is? But boy, is it intense. Boy, is that intense. Now, whether or not eventually they're going to come out with their own fluorescence, maybe, maybe not. I think it just depends on how the transparents go and some of those other items. So let's get down in here. I'm just going to look at how intense that is. My goodness. I'm just going to slop this in here. Now this is a bit of a fragile thing here, so I'm just going to use my finger there to hopefully keep that from snapping off. Now let's get some basically some smoke for that. Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out what we want to do here. That may be gray later on. I don't know. We'll see. That's why I didn't try to come up with some exact, precise color scheme for this. And we're also going to project a little bit of that onto our robes here. And then with the brown that I've got for the base, just going to do a quick little glaze there. And sometimes you just got to let things be messy early on. Got to be willing to do that. I know things, they don't look like anything at the start and people get really nervous and kind of crazy about that. But trust me, it is definitely worth it. Now I'm going to go back to my base. And I have to decide what's going to be more of a greenish color. What's going to be more of a blue. And let me see. I'm going to see if I can't find myself a nice true blue color here. Here, let's try this. I think it's a sky blue. Yep, that's what that is. Here's my jade. And I'm going to get some of this right in here. Again, the texture roller from Green Stuff Sowrld. Fantastic. Oh my gosh, there must be 30 different roller textures now. I really enjoy those. It makes it so much easier to not just set a theme, but even just to decide on a theme, because sometimes that can be really tough to just settle on a theme. But when you look at the texture rollers, and you have the Roman one, the Aztec one, all these different texture rollers, all you do is you look through your collection and you say, you know what, I like that lion theme, or I like that Roman theme, I like the Greek mosaic theme. And now I don't want to do too much with the teal here. Not too much with the teal. Yeah, maybe I'll just I'm not going to go that much because I don't want to set this off too much. I know that sounds kind of weird. So let's see if I can't find myself. Aha! This is the blue I was looking for, and it's just blue. That's one of all the things that I enjoy about the ProAcryl paints. I think just having normal names instead of some kind of wacky name, that really helps. Let's get some blue in here. And what I might do is throw some glazes over the top of this. So the idea is to, yeah, impart some color in here, but you can see some of the preliminary wash is mixing its way in there, and that's a good thing because it tones it down. And let's throw that in there. I just wanted to see what I had. And I think what I might do is do some magenta, a few magenta accents on these things. So then I'll go with magenta there, maybe a little bit of magenta in there too. Okay, I'm going to set that also aside. Now let's get back to this. Remember, we've got our faded ultramarine. Because what we're trying to do is get that sort of grayed down skin tone, which we've already set in place pretty well. And I've thinned down the paint. I don't know if it's quite a bit, but enough. The idea is to make it flow a little bit more. But I'm also going to do a thing where I take away some of the paint out of the brush and then continue on. And I think you're going to see things start to soften up a little bit. Now I keep thinking there's an arm or a hand in there, but there's really not. And I'm going to work as long as I can with the larger brush. Now let's get back here. Speaking of magentas, see, this is another area where I can get some of the teal into the miniature. Maybe we freehand a little bit of the design on here. So now I'm going to do that same thing. I'm going to take away some of the paint, and this is almost like we're using oil paint here. So we're just kind of dusting this over the top. It's not a dry brush. I can tell you that. That's one thing for sure. Definitely not a dry brush. And since the paint stays wet a little bit longer than your usual paint, you can do some fun things with it. You can do some of this. It's very minor wet blending. See that nifty chisel edge that we've got going? And now we'll start to throw in, see, we can start to enhance some of the lights here. You do have to figure that, okay, if we're going to do this whole magenta thing here, and the magenta and gold, that'll make some nice opposing colors there. They contrast pretty well with each other. Already going to think about letting a little bit of magenta get into there. I see looks like we got some cloth over here, so I will just throw that in there. And I'll have to decide, do I want to do any sort of gold stuff in there, or do I have it be maybe jade or something like that? But before I do that, yeah, let's go our next one more level here with our faded ultramarine. Gonna let a little bit of my older mix show through there. And you got the reference pictures on the sides. I think those are old Raging Heroes miniatures. The whole idea is I wanted something for you guys to see as a color reference. I also needed just something for me to see as a color reference. Now let's start to lighten this up a little bit, because we want to start to work our way towards our reference photos. And this is that, oh gosh, bright warm gray, I believe it is. And yeah, this stuff, it really covers well. It's just unbelievable the way it covers, especially the lighter colors. So you always have to keep that in mind. But the interesting thing is that it can also dry a little bit darker than when you first put it on. Just some observations, things that I've noticed, because I've used this stuff a lot. And I'll show you a miniature here in a second that is already part of the Patreon series. I've got, several more underway. Here, let's get to our face, and you can see this start to emerge a little bit. So let's see if we can, how much of this we can fit on screen. So this was the Lady of Anguish here. This was also done with the ProAcryl paints, and you can see a lot of jade in there. A lot of jade. Really enjoyed that one. That's a 3-part series, actually. Again, that's available on the Patreon page. And that would be actually as little as a $5 pledge. We'll let you be able to check out that video. Now, obviously, the Army Painter pledge that you'll see scroll by there on the screen, that's the $15 level. That gets you everything. That'll get you basing videos, Dark Sword videos, the Nocturna videos. It gets you basically everything. And when you first sign up, I think you get about 100 hours worth of videos if you sign up at that $15 level. So I don't think that's not a bad deal there. Hey, Tyler. Hey, Bethany, she's there. Yeah, but believe it or not, there was just a Tim Tam conversation right before I started this live session. And actually, the person that I was talking to there with Kathy, they are with the salted caramel Tim Tams being the best. Me, I'm always partial to the mint and to the chocolate, so I think the mint chocolates are always going to be my favorite. We're also going to do we'll do some of the spots too. If you look at the image in the upper right hand corner, you got some spots on there. Now, I've been adding some lighter stuff, but they all, that the old adage, if you want to have light, you have to have dark. So we got to get some dark working in here too, which means we're going to take some of our, even a little bit of the sky blue there, but some of that black. I really can't wait for the transparents, because then I think some of those will really be nifty as, say, a glazing color here. So I'm going to thin this down a bit more. We'll make these maybe a little darker here, including parts of the hair. There we go. And I'm going to use just the brush to gently wipe some of that away. And now I also have to figure, okay, am I going to do that gold thing? Because if I am, I need to determine sooner rather than later just how gold that's going to be. Because that yellow's going to come in there, and that's going to be a complement to a bunch of other colors. Of course, having that yellow in there too with the jade, yellow and blue make green, so all of a sudden you have a little more color harmony there. But first, I want to see how I like that darker armor, because I might go with that instead. I may just go with that instead. Letting my colors here get a little darker, because we can always go back over and lighten things up. Now we're going to take some of that black and some of that magenta, and all of a sudden now even at this early stage, maybe the smoke is going to start to make a little more sense. Definitely going to get some here on the other side, but I want to support that. I really want to support that, not have that thing snap right off. Okay. So it's not taken very long to establish some really nice values here. We got this chain over here. I just want to do the same thing. Get some darks down in there. Just for... Oh, okay. Yeah, I always seem to catch you at work here. Hey, first last, how's it going? Yeah, sorry I didn't get to put out the warning. Is a fair warning that I was doing this. I actually meant to do this last night, but oh gosh, what was it? Yeah, there was some figures I just had to finish last night, and I figured, well, I'll just do this tonight. So yeah, so now we're starting to get the top part of your smoke there a little bit darker. Here, let's get some darks into here. So we were working dark, lighter. Now we're going to work the darker parts of things. Here, let's get into some of our darker purples here. Into the tentacle here, we'll call it, I guess. Actually, I'm going to try some. Maybe instead of gold, I want to see what happens if we almost make the armor like it's jade. Because there's that whole peacock theme. Peacocks, well, there's a little bit of yellow accents in the feathers. But I want to try some here. I may just end up going right over it. But I have to say that I always like to have greens in my golds. So if I have to paint over this to get that gold in there, that's really not a loss. That is not a big deal at all. And I'm just looking around here for any areas that might need some. Here, let's go to a little bit of a different brush, and let's go to a little bit of a different blue here. So I've been basically working with darks and middle tones. Yeah, well, what is this? Well, let's see. In some parts of the world, it's waking up with Wappel, but out there in the Pacific, it is dinner with Jim. Because, well, let's see, 240. My guess is it's gotta be about 640. I'm thinking in Melbourne. I could be wrong. So here's a little bit of the faded ultramarine mixed with that, well, blue. I just love the simplicity of the colors. Love the simplicity. Now there may be parts of this that I don't get to paint all the way through because, well, I don't think I can be doing this for 4 or 5 hours as much as I'd like to. We're actually getting ready for Gen Con. That's one of the big things that we're doing. And that's coming up real soon. It's now, well, it's, for us, it's wheels up in less than 6 days. Well, yeah, 6 days now, I guess. Was 7, now it's 6, and that's scary. We've got a little bit of blue into the robe here, just to get some differences. And I guess here, I'm going to show you something real quick. A little bit of the faded ultramarine. Just how much space we have to go yet as far as lights and darks. Now this is nowhere near white. I think I'm probably going to go magenta on the eyes. So there is still plenty of leeway yet on as far as lights and darks go. And there's definitely a lot of the with the infantry figures here, there's a lot of these little hooks and such. So I'm just trying to bring out a little bit of that chain. We've got some of these little masks here. So let's see what that mask looks like if we start to do that in some jade as opposed to just the usual gold. Will I like it? Will I not like it? We're going to find out. There are definitely some of these really interesting masks. I think there's some other creature caster figures that you haven't seen yet that I'm working on. I've got another figure that's sort of in progress as far as the tutorial goes. I'll show you that later on. So I'm going to let this armor get a little bit lighter here. That's also, I'm not quite sure what everybody can see. Because as you can tell, there's a lot of stuff that could potentially just get in the way of sight lines. Kind of get in between the miniature and your view on the camera there. Now yeah. I'm seeing this actually as armor here or something, so I'm just gonna go with the jade there. I see we need to get some. And then I'm just kind of taking the side of the brush here, and all of a sudden I'm noticing that jade is starting to work its way into the, oh gosh, what would you want to call these? Claws? Not quite sure exactly. Now I'm not gonna, I'm tempted to actually grab a little bit of yellow. because I don't want all the jade to be just the same color. Hey, Andre, it's 5:40 p.m. there. Okay. Yeah, I didn't want to go down to my phone because, well, as we all know, Melbourne and London are both on my phone. It would only let me have 3 time zones. So I got mine, I got Melbourne, and I got London. At least it gives me an idea. Well, if somebody's sending me a message or if I'm trying to send them a message, it gives me a little idea just, should I be waiting for a response or should they be waiting for a response from me? Yeah, I'm starting to enjoy the jade right there. So that's another one of those sort of changes that you make as you go through. So there's a mask back here. You guys can't really see it. I'm just throwing some stuff to indicate that it's there. Because remember, I can always just go back in and do some glazes over that. And remember the color that I'm using, 9:45 a.m. in Germany. Well, let's see. Oh, that's right, because England would be 6 hours ahead. Germany would be 7 hours ahead. Yeah, that makes sense. I don't know if it's still super hot in Europe. I spent the weekend doing live painting demos, essentially in a garage. The heat index here was about in the 116 range, something like that. I'm guessing that's in the 40-ish, 42, 43-ish Celsius range. Now I'm just going to add a little more. See, just throwing some lights in here, and then we'll do some darks on top of that. Now I did that on the other side. I'm going to do it on this side now. I'm going to get some of that lighter jade in there. Even here, so I'm just using the side of the brush. There's all of these hooks and such here. And all I want to do is, I see okay, so we have some armor over here. And then that goes into some hooks there. I guess I try not to study these too much in advance, because then it becomes less of a live session and more of an unrecorded thing that I've done a million times. Try to avoid that. Once again, we're a long ways away from any kind of white. 37, 30, woof, ouch. 37 degrees, that's got to be in at least the mid-90s. 38's probably got to be about 97 degrees or so. And again, there's more hooks over here. There's the actual little skull right there. Now I'm just trying to indicate a few things. Let's get some darks in the eyes, or around the eyes. I'm going to make sure that... Okay, looks like you can see that. It's been a while since I last painted a miniature on a dowel rod. And I'll show you in a second what I mean here. Yeah, it's just a paper clip there on a dowel rod. And it's nice because I can get my whole hand to grip this thing. I can brace this hand against it. This is how we used to paint all of our miniatures, and it was great. But between the amount of figures we had to do, and yeah, we ended up, I think you see me now mostly painting figures that are already attached to their bases. I sort of miss the old days. Here, let's get ourselves a little bit of a darker color down in here. It's going to indicate a little bit of a shadow turn. Glaze that in a little bit. And let's see what we can do here. Once again, I'm just looking for some dark. This is essentially setting the darkest dark at this point. Let's do that on this side of the head. I'm just shoving in a glaze color there. Really nothing that fancy. Now I'm going to see, here, let's see what happens when we mix that light flesh tone with, okay, that's good. That's what I'm looking for. So it's a little less of a bluish green now. It's got a little bit more of a, 98. And I know there it's not quite as much with the air conditioning as here. Now, of course, to keep the computers going here and not just explode, we've had to invest in some serious air conditioning. Crazy thing is, within 24 hours of virtually setting records for heat and everything, it was in the 60s. Go figure. It was appreciated. I'm sure you would not mind weather in the 60s right now, which I'm guessing is in that 15 to 18 Celsius range. Pardon me while I play Weatherman. Okay. Now let's go back. I'm going to grab some of this. That's the sky blue there. Just looking to get me a little color right here. Starting to lighten this up. I'm really looking forward to the transparency because I think you've seen all the stuff that I've been doing with the contrast paints and everything, where you mix those in and you get that semi-translucent. That's going to be interesting, is how semi-translucent can I make these. Now, of course, I've mixed these with contrast paints, and that's gone pretty well too. Now I'm trying to get, again, some sky blue into a few areas here. Yeah, let's do some of this here. And you know what? I'll do that here as well. Not everywhere, just a few spots. So I don't want to lose that purple look and the magenta look. Speaking of which, there's some of that darker blue mixed with the purple. And I'm just going to mark a few of those areas. Yeah, I'm also going to get ourselves a little more life in the skin tones over here. And as always, I've got my faded blue ultramarine. Put a little water in there to make that a little more transparent. I'm going to rotate this around. Everything over 17 is, yeah. I would not mind mid-60s all summer long. That I could deal with. I know lots of people would hate that. But when I was doing those painting demos at the Adepticon staff thing, I didn't need water for my wet palette because I was sweating so much. What is that? You put blood and sweat into your miniature painting. Well, we did the sweat part, that's for sure. No doubt about that. And we're getting a little bit of that fluorescent magenta back in there. You can see now I'm starting to focus on some of the recesses. Almost like it's more of a continuous flame instead of simple smoke rising. So I'm going into all the deepest areas here. Which now means, so if we're not doing the gold there, maybe we just go with some kind of jade thing over here. Because we've changed our minds. I have no idea if I will like that or not. But we're going to find out one way or the other. Like I said, if I don't necessarily like it, I can just paint right over it and use that jade as an underpainting. Wow, that is wild. Well, now there's a lot of the contrast paint sold out. Apparently still sold out. I was not able to get the, what was that, the contrast medium. A friend of mine just was nice enough to let me use his for a few of the live sessions. I have to say, the Green Stuff Sowrld Intensity inks, I'm sure there's no shortage on those, but they do a lot of the same stuff that the contrast paints do, and there's even basically a medium. Yeah, basically a contrast medium, but it's the, I think it's called master medium. Okay, I'm gonna go back in here. Let's see what happens if we lighten up our magenta fluorescent here a bit. And I'm also going to turn up my brightness. And then I got to go back and get my check here. Oh yeah, this little thing here is, it's a rocking back and forth. Well, these are the, what would you call it, the monstrous figures. Those, as delicate as they look, they're pretty solid. Now these, the infantry figures, and I've got a couple other ones here I can show you, and I'll be doing more live sessions on those too. You're gonna have some delicate parts. Now you do have your choice in some cases which parts you use. There were some, see, I'm starting to add in, can you see that? Back, I think you can. Remember that whole you must have dark to show light? And all of those darks that I had early that looked kind of weird and nasty, well, now, look at that. See, we're starting to, that's starting to look like it's actually glowing now. But I had to be patient, and I had to set all of this up. And it's hard, it's not easy. I know people, they want to get right down and have the results straight away. But you're better off building a strong foundation and working from there. So now here we're going to start to reflect some of this here and there. Yeah, you can see, watch the claws kind of, or whatever they are, they bend a little bit. We're going to thin this down. And we need to, there we are. See what we're doing there? So we're starting to add a bit of a reflection over there. Some of that reflected light. I always enjoy doing the reflected light. And now, yeah, see that goes, that's lining up well against the jade there. And the more of this that we do, the more of that glow we're going to start to get. And when you have something like this, where you have a complicated set of things in the foreground, things in the middle ground, things in the background, so there we go. We're starting to get ourselves a little bit of a nice line work in there. And let's just, I'm going to try and indicate, there we go. Pretty much, I think on just about all of the ecstasy miniatures, whether they're the monsters or the infantry, I like the idea of the kind of doing the glowing eyes. So you'll probably see the other ones done in this same color scheme. So as we get this one here, let's see if I can find some of the other ones here. So here's the banner bear. And obviously I'll do, see here I can maybe do some freehand on that. I'm just going to set that over there. I don't want to mess around with it too much right now. Okay. Yeah, I'm just going to get a little touch of the reflected light there. Can't resist doing the object source lighting. It's just a thing. I just do it so often. It tends to just add so much more life to a figure that's so tiny. There's something about it. See, out here I'm missing a whole thing of, I'd say, like clear glass. Well, let's see. I suppose, and I'm just gonna throw some of these in here now. The King's Guard that I've been doing for the Song of Ice and Fire game. I'm gonna grab one here. Can I? Aha! Here it is. So there's a lot of pearlescent to that armor there. Now if I was going to paint that like it was clear glass, maybe I'd have almost like that you can see the shield through that or something. So right here there'd be a line that would sort of indicate there's something behind it. Okay, let's get ourselves a little bit more of our light color in here, and I still haven't added white. All of this stuff, there is no white on the palette, and believe me, you'll know a difference when that white is out there. You will most definitely see it. So we're just gonna keep figuring out just how bright do we want this glow to be. Just gonna keep adding some of these lights down into the trenches there. I guess the other important thing, I know I say this a lot on the videos, is if you're going to do the whole object source lighting thing, it's important to make sure that your lightest reflected light is not brighter than your original light source, because, well, that doesn't really work too well, to say the least. Let's get a few lighter colors again in the smoke here, trying to, and there. Now I'm also gonna have to think about the base, so I may have to dig around for some tools to be able to get this off of this thing and get it stuck into the base. which is another reason why I'm not messing around too much with the dress there, because an awful lot of that is going to be hidden by the base. Alright, do I need to lighten this up a little? Yeah, I need to lighten that up a touch. So that's the Vallejo fluorescent paint that you see. Maybe even the slightest touch here. I know there's a lot of these sort of ribbed armor pieces like this. Well, basically on the outside of the ribs. Now, since you have multiple sculptors working on the same piece, sometimes it can be a little difficult. You know, when you get used to, say, other companies where, say, a Reaper, where you have the Bob Ridolfi, Keith Van Horn, and Patrick Keithans, and now Patrick Keithy has his Bombshell miniatures. So yeah, there's an example. You do the Bombshell miniatures, and well, they're all sculpted by Patrick, so there's a certain look that you're expecting for everything. The face, the hands, clothes, hair. With these, since you have different sculptors working on different parts, sometimes that will change a little bit. Yeah, see, I like that little bit of light that snakes its way down. Now, again, that's bendy. I have to remember that's going to bend. So I think we're going pretty well here, establishing our glowing color. Again, that's the fluorescent magenta. Now I'm going to go back into some of this bluish color here. And we'll go back and maybe establish a little bit of dark here again. Don't want to lose the purple. So I just added a little bit of purple to that. I can also glaze that fluorescent stuff. And it works really interesting when you glaze the fluorescence, because in effect it can be a very dry glaze, as I like to call it. Here, I'm just going to do a quick little bit of a glaze over the top of that, a little bit of a glaze over the top of that. Now we've been doing a lot with the magenta. We're going to step away from the magenta, at least the fluorescent magenta, and now we'll work with some more standard type colors here. Now, do we want this to be semi-translucent? There's not a lot of places to indicate that, but we can indicate that by using the faded ultramarine as our highlight color here. And essentially what you do is wherever it's going to come in contact with the skin, that is where you put your A, lighter colors, and B, colors that look a little bit more like the skin. Gonna look here at the... Okay, I don't see any questions in the chat. Okay, so I don't want to go too much with the faded ultramarine in areas that aren't necessarily coming in contact with the skin. Do a little bit of that here. I suppose you also have to give the eye some place to kind of take a break, to chill out and relax, because if it's just a bombardment of just color after color after color that's all the same level of intensity or highlight, the eye's just not going to want to look at it anymore. It's going to say, whoa, this is just too much. Too much of a good thing is too much of a good thing. And I'm I'm letting that, again, mix in with my purple color. Here, let's get even a little bit lighter here. So what we also don't want to do is make this as light as this, because if we do that, well, that's really going to nuke any kind of indication of how light the flesh is. So we don't want that either. It's all kind of a delicate balance. And as I said, there's some stuff that it's really hard to do either on camera or especially with the live sessions. Because I'm trying to look at the chat to see if there's any questions. Now, I think at this point I'm about to... That's about where faded ultramarine is there. So I will start to add a little more of the lighter color there. Oh, is that the bright warm gray, I think it is? So again, but I want the interest to sort of stay where it belongs. Now, for the heck of it, I'm just going to indicate a little, just a gentle caress of the magenta from down here. Not a lot. You can see it's relatively dark. It looks lighter up here because of what it's next to. Now we're going to find a different, here. How's this? We are going to take some of this and mix it with the purple. That changes the nature of that purple a little bit. Almost gives it a little more of an orange nature. Less of the cool pink. I need to get a few lights up in here. And that's important because as I go over here now and start to add in, now you can really see how this, see, we got that warmer pink here and we've got that cooler color here, even though that's going to end up being a little bit lighter. I'm also going to get my brightness up to speed here. Again, I had it toned down because when you're first starting out and you're at that really light primer, well, it's going to make the camera go a little bit bonkers. So I always turn that down a bit. And like I said, you can thin this stuff down and do it in a little bit more of a glazing type fashion. And I'm not going to let these have absolutely no magenta on them. That wouldn't be good. We can also still, like I said, darken those down. And I definitely need to get some of the magenta here on these folds. That is the other interesting thing about the creature caster stuff, is that generally folds like this and 3D sculpting, they don't necessarily go hand in hand, but creature caster really put a lot of effort into making that work. And I definitely enjoy their cloth. And I think now a few of the tutorials that I did using this as basically 2D art paint, I think some of those are available for public consumption, so you can check those out. Also, too, if you hit the subscribe button, then you'll get a notification of these live sessions. And as I said, there will be many more of these. It's just with the convention season ramping up over the next month, I'll try and squeeze these in when I can. So they're going to be more, there's not going to be a lot of advance notice, I guess. It's just going to be, okay, looks like I can do one tonight. And then it'll happen. Now, before I get too much into that magenta stuff, we got the faded ultramarine, we got that warm bright gray, and this is where we got to try and impart a little bit of that transparency. And that's just right in this area here. But you also, and it's really tough, you have to keep in mind that these colors, sometimes they will dry just a bit darker than when you put them on there. You put them on there and you think, oh my gosh, that's too light. And then you look at it a little bit later and all of a sudden you say, well, what the heck happened there? It was too light for a second. And then it wasn't. This is the jade with that warm, bright gray. Just looking to do a few of these little gems here. Then we're going to add some of the original darker jade too. And just at that point, I didn't know what it was that I wanted to do with those. Let's get a touch of jade into here too. So we're working, we've got some of the jade, some of that sky blue. Let's get a little bit lighter jade now into this area. So actually there's a couple of the masks right here. I don't know if you can see that second one right there. And I suppose the other thing that I'll do is if I can get my hands on more of these, I'll try different color schemes with them, because that's always fun to see the same thing done in a couple other color schemes. Now let's get, I'm gonna use some of this here. I might still grab some yellow for my jade to make some of the brighter highlights of that. And the yellow really is, it's a nice intense yellow, but I think there's even some more of that on the way. I only got to play with the transparency very briefly at Adepticon. And they were, oh yeah, definitely intense, no doubt about that. Alright, where are we at? Okay, good, we're on screen here. Now I'm starting to think about some of the lightest skin tone colors here. Remember, I can still go lighter than this. Still an option. Let's get some of that here too on the face. We need to make sure that we have plenty of nice lights and darks on the face. I mean, as much as it's nice on the arms and the legs and everything else, can't just ignore the face. Okay, we also need to get, I need to get a little light down there too. And I'm gonna maybe do a bit of take the jade and that's the coal black. See if we can't get some darks in here. I'm gonna make sure that palette's, there we go. I'm just gonna try and get a few darks down in here in some of the armor spaces. And definitely over here too. Here, let's just right over the top of that, and then we'll wipe away some of the excess. That's it. I've been talking about that whole thing of you must have dark to show light, and there wasn't enough dark, so when we add some dark. I'm going to do that here too. That's more like it. Let's grab some of this and drop that into a few of those places, and now we'll do that with the dark blue, gray, and the black. And it looks like we're wiping that all out, but we're not. Just setting up some more future highlights here. I definitely need to find myself some darks here. Even in the tentacle hair, we'll just call it that. Maybe even on the cloth over here. Let some of that shadow color just work its way down. Maybe even onto my smoke over here. You can see a few areas that I will want to hit with the lighter magenta down into the recesses of that. And here, let's get thinking about also doing some of the markings there. Oh, I think we're going to wait on that just a bit here. I'm also trying not to push too much on that with my finger, because that wouldn't go well. But now I want to develop some more action here on the eyes. And just the face in general. Because you've got the nose is sort of on the, it's just sort of cut off. It's not like a regular nose, so I have to think a little differently as I approach that. But now that I've enhanced the dark around the eyes, now I can put a little more light in the eyes. Okay. Yeah, let's sneak up some more of the fluorescent magenta in there. Yeah, I was tempted to just put a big old magenta dot there on the nose, but we won't go that far with it. So again, just it's a demonette anyway, so sometimes realism is only going to go so far with something like this, because it's not exactly real, which means you have maybe a little bit of license to do your own thing. I try to encourage that as much as possible. Here, let's see if we can't get one stage lighter pink in the eyes. Now, keep in mind that the fluorescent paint, while it's transparent, it is also very thick. And that can lead to some weird issues sometimes. It's hard to thin down. So I'm gonna try and double down here on some of these darks. So this is that coal black here. Trying to just support my hand, trying to make this so you can see it. Yeah, that's starting to show up a little more. And then I get some of that black out of there. See if I can't do something interesting with a little bit of blue here. I don't want that just to be a black stripe there. So I'm going to try and make that a little more interesting. Just doing the same thing on the other side. Always looking for that extra bit of depth. So that's the warm, bright gray with the sky blue. I don't want to lose the purple that I had there, so I got to be mindful of that. And here where your tentacles kind of get their start. And what I'll do is I'm going to look at my reference picture real quick. So this is bright ivory, I think. Yep. I'm going to put this out there. And we're just going to throw it right over here next to the bright orange. So I think you can see the difference there. You're really going to see the difference on here. I'm going to get a little bit of that faded ultramarine there. And this is where hopefully I can make the face have even a little, yeah, look at that. And that is not pure, that's not pure white or anything like that. We are far from any kind of pure white. You just want to leave that as your, I don't want to say color of last resort, but you want to leave that particular ammunition in your chamber as long as you can. Now let's get a few more highlights here. Is that okay? That's on camera. It can be hard. I've actually now gotten so used to figures on bases, it's a little more difficult and tricky when they're actually not on a base anymore and when they're sitting on the dowel rod like this. I think we're starting to get some more shape there now. I don't want the cheekbones to be too sharp here. So we got to soften those up a touch. And now I need to get some more light in there. Right on that top of that cheekbone. And you know what? I'm gonna see what happens if I put a little bit of the sky blue in there. It's almost, say, like you're putting green into regular human flesh tone, and you think, what the heck is green in human flesh? Well, yeah, it is. There's a lot of green on our faces. So we're going to have to substitute a different color for the green. And now it looks like that's actually a collar instead of a neck. So I'm going to get back into my jade here then. I thought that was the neck, but that is clearly a collar of some type. So we're just going to make a change to that. And now I'm going to get into it's my faded ultramarine here. And we'll do a little bit of cleanup here. Again, trying to soften the transition on that cheekbone. And sorry if I get a little bit quiet. One of the ways to steady your hand and the brush is to actually hold your breath for a little bit. I know that sounds strange, but it really does work. You sort of slow down your heartbeat a little. So there's again that faded ultramarine. So I can tap some of it away if there's a little too much. Now I'm going to go back in with that's the warm gray, warm light gray. Maybe even, what the heck, I'm going to go direct to the bright ivory. And then back to here's some of my dark here. And now I have to decide, yeah, I'm gonna go with some more of a few more lights here. Yeah, I can definitely go lighter there. And you can see it's less pink and it's got a little more of the yellow to it. That's actually the flesh tone added in. And we'll mix a little more of that in here. Let's get some highlights over here. Trying to have this flow here and match the overall flow of that dress. But all the while trying not to necessarily interfere with my super bright magenta, which now we're going to see how light we can get, because now we've got that bright ivory out there. We're going to mix our fluorescent magenta with that. We're going to shoot this down a little bit. Got to thin it down though. Remember that fluorescent paint wants to be thick. Let's see what areas where we can make this really bright. And what was bright before, all of a sudden, it doesn't look quite as bright. I'm just gonna, not as many up here, obviously. Trying to focus the lighter areas down, obviously on the, as close to the central part of this sensor, I guess is what you would call it. Yeah, I can do some of these on the back. We'll dot in there. Down here. And hopefully it helps to give it that look of flame. I wonder if I can get some of this into the eyes. Oh, hey there, Maple Leaf. Oh, thanks. Much appreciated. No, thanks. Thanks for watching them too. I always try to have some kind of new and different thing each time. I never quite know what it's going to be. And I try to make it something that I would, it's fun for me, because I think that sort of translates, I guess. There we go. I've been really anxious for, oh my gosh, well over a month to try this one. And it's cool to actually get a chance to paint it now. The recorded videos, they're fun too. But well, that's unless I'm talking to myself when I do those. It is fun here when people get on and ask some questions, and we can talk about Tim Tams. Well, and translating Celsius into Fahrenheit and vice versa. So I'm just trying to get a few little highlights here, because the armor surfaces, you definitely wanna hit those with some sharp highlights. Here we're gonna work a little bit of the darker jade into there too. There. Now at this point, because we spent those early stages doing all that rough work, where it just really looked kind of like, what is going on? Now we get to play a little bit more, and here this is going to be some of actually the sky blue that's going into this jade. Let's see, what is it? Oh, I think I wanted to do some of those Kingsguard that you saw me flash earlier there a little bit. Because I want to get that unit finished off before ReaperCon. Yeah, I guess if anybody's going to ReaperCon, well, we're going to be doing the Fort Wappel thing there again, just like last year. And if you're at Gen Con, well, guess what? I'm in the Badger booth again. I'll be doing painting demos there. Now that's going to be with the airbrush. And I have a whole bunch of Blackheart models goodness, but they're busts. I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, let's definitely get a little more light onto these surfaces. We just added the dark, which means now when we go in with this lighter stuff, that should offer us some decent contrast. Now let's see what we can get I want to mix this with the jade. So see, that's it's a much cooler highlight version. I want to see what happens when we drop this in here. Like so. There's actually a series of almost 4, 1, 2, 3, actually 5. Well, that's technically 6 different levels there. That is some seriously complicated stuff. So let's get some kind of highlight on the top of this collar. And then we've got these earrings here. Now we've added an awful lot of lighter colors to the jade. Now here, I'm going to get in with a more of a middle tone jade, and also something that has a little bit of the yellowish color in it. Again, try not to snap pieces off of this thing. That's better. That was just, it was getting a little bit bland. We don't want bland. I mean, it's different if it's a Fallschirmjäger covered in the dust of Monte Cassino or something like that, but here, you know, this is kind of your classic Slaanesh demonette thing. I think pure bright colors are the order of the day. Now I'm going to see if some straight up ivory also gets us a little more separation here on her face. Yeah, and just kind of this line from the forehead down to the nose, down to the chin. And now I just want to get a few highlights on some of the metals here. And always trying to seek out a little more separation there. But maybe now it's almost time to go the other way. I'm going to get some of my purple back out here. See if we can get this in here without making a big old mess. So that's purple mixed with the dark grayish blue. And because we've been adding a lot of lights, let's see what we can do going back the other way now. Needed to reshape the eyes. I'm still going to try and add another light color into the eyes. I also want to see if I can do some kind of a little bit of a pattern here on the skin. And if I need to add some black to that, I will, but we're going to start out with some larger dots. And then we'll get smaller around them. And it's a fun way to add a little bit of interest to kind of a large surface area here. So see how the dots just get a little bit smaller as we work our way out. So the central dots, that part of it, there we go. See how the central dots are a little bit bigger and then they get a little bit smaller as you work your way out. Hopefully, there you go. Now you can see it. I had to turn it that way so that I could see it and actually reach it. Now let's get a few of these here. These will be a little bit smaller, a little less frequent. Couple there. And now, let's see if we can't get a few on this side. Might be easier actually for you guys to see. So these are some of those larger ones. Now we start to go a little bit smaller. Then I have to decide, do I want to do these on the face, usually on the forehead? And these will just have to be even that much smaller. A little bit difficult because you have the hair, well, tentacle hair texture so close to it. And I want to, I'm going to get some of this junk out of the brush here, see if I can't even go one step lighter with my magenta flame here, and I can. I do see it something where I actually have to make it a little bit darker. So I'll do that after I drop in some of these. Here, let's get the eyes in here. That's it. I don't want to hit that. Let's see what we can do with the eyes here. And this is going to be tricky again. Where are we at here? I'm trying to get towards the underside of the eye there. Think that just about did it. Now also, I'm going to grab just some of this, some blue liner. Because that's the one thing that it really excels at. Now when they do the transparent stuff, I'll be able to do something more like this. Okay. So it's basically kind of a blue-black, and I think that's actually one of the colors that's going to be coming out. Where are we at now? Am I on screen? It looks that way. That's what I needed. Can you see? Yeah, I think you can see that. And on the other side, same thing. Don't want to be leaning on that smoke. That is just what I needed. It's the one color I just couldn't make. And also it's the consistency of it is a little bit different. So once again, when they come out with the transparents, I'll be able to mix the coal black and probably that blue and make the same thing I just used here. So let's get a little separation now in between these armor segments. That's it. This is a little bit of definition, a little bit of contrast. That helps a bunch. And even over here, I'm just going to glaze that in. That's better. Speaking of glazes, I'm going to do a few darker glazes of that on the claws. And if you actually on the Patreon page, the original painting pyramid videos. If you're looking for, well, how did I paint those, the reference pictures that you see, that is part of the Patreon page there. Again, you sign up for that. Depending on which level you choose, you could have as much as 100 hours of videos that cover everything: basing, object source lighting, metallics, non-metallics, sky, earth, gold, copper, bronze, oil painting, and hopefully, because Creature Caster is working on more and more and more of these infantry here, you'll see army painting series based on these. That's going to be pretty wild, to say the least. Just given the nature of these first 4 infantry figures that were done. And we're just adding a little more dark to the smoke here. Gonna add a little more distance too for some of these, because we got that multiple levels where you got sort of the arms in the foreground and arms in the background. I'm just trying to do a little bit of a glaze down here. Some stuff, it's just, when it's too bright, gotta knock it down a little bit. Got the jade mask that we tried to create here. There we are. So we're definitely things starting to emerge with each little extra detail that we add now. We need to get a little bit of this darker magenta over that. That's what was lacking there. That's gonna set some of the flames more towards the backdrop a little bit. We're doing that same thing over here. Now let's see if I can't just mix in the jade with that blue liner. Let's see, so we have plenty of dark over here. Now I'm going to go back in and do more of a middle tone. Not so much a light, but more of a middle tone. On this side, right by the hoof here. Gotta think about these little gemstones here. I guess one quick way, you hit them with some kind of either water effects type thing, or, oh gosh, was it art code? I think that's GW stuff. And then you get that highlight from multiple angles. So literally wherever a light, like my photography lights here, whatever, are hitting it, you will get a light source there. So at first I was almost starting to think that this was part of the flame, but no, these are still just the horns here. That's what we need now. Okay. I think I still need to work in some light on the cheekbones here. See if we can do that. Yeah, that's it. And then I am going to go back in it and see if I can soften that up a touch. I might want to also try and do, well, let's see, I'm thinking about doing some of the spots in there too, like we've done in a few other locations. Here, let's go back into that's that bright ivory there, making sure not to snap the sensor off. Just trying to get these, I think there's 4 of them here actually. Basically little earring type things. And then there are definitely a lot of hooks. There were a few hooks that I did not put on this. I just felt like, didn't really need them, and they might even kind of get in the way a little bit. Alright. That's the bright ivory there. Oh, let's go into some of our purple here. We're gonna make that just less of a solid dot there. And then yeah. Sorry, I just had to kind of do the holding the breath thing. I have to also decide, do I want to do any of the little spots there? I've also got actually a really large, speaking of the old days of Creature Caster, really old, well, basically Ultra Forge. One of the really old, I think it was called the Pleasure Demon or something like that. That goes back a long ways. That video is also on the Patreon page. Let's see if we can't do a little bit of reflected light there. And it's also going to be a bit more of the purple. I want to warm that up a touch. Even in there. Hopefully this does also just give you some ideas on not only for painting this particular thing, but maybe something else that has the purple and the teal together. That's some of my, again, that dark blue, that blue liner that I'm going to use to just sort of glaze in here real quick. That's all we needed. Now let's see, something I want to do in here. Let's see if I can add some bright areas here to our tentacle here. Yeah, that's about what I'm looking to do. just about like so. There we go. Now, the base. I'm just realizing that I don't actually need to add magenta in the design because we're going to be reflecting magenta onto the base itself. So that's one of those things. I was just about to do something. I went, yeah, maybe I should look at that. And I went, oh, yeah, okay. Had to kind of pull back on something I was going to do. Let's get a little more of the pink in there. Now I have to decide, do I want to, how much more magenta flames type stuff do I want on here? Do I want to not do that? Okay. Is this about what I want here for my object source lighting glow? Maybe we add a few more touches here. Because since we first did this, we had gone back in with some glazes. There. And now I also have to make sure I've got enough light on this. Yeah, I think I need to get a little touch of this over here too. Not a lot. Not a lot, just a little bit. And I also have to do something on that upper lip there, but it's... what the heck? Let's see if we can give it sort of a bright blue. And if that offers some contrast, but not too much. So we're going to do it right here. On this part of the lip. I was thinking of doing it purple, but let's see what blue does. Yeah, that's definitely more fun. And trying to... that's it. Now see how we got that little bit of separation in there now? That's just more interesting than that big mass of black. Well, black. Of darker color that was there. Can we do it on this side? I don't have as easy of a handhold over here. Ironically, you can see it a little better. Yeah, that's okay. I want to go over the eye too. That's it. So see how that thins down those lines by default? That's something that I've been doing more and more and more. Instead of trying to struggle and paint in certain things, I just say, you know what? Let's just paint around it. And that seems to work really well. I got some of this stuff. I'd have to rotate it in a way you couldn't see it. So some of that stuff is just going to be done afterwards. Now, I don't have the advantage when I do the recorded stuff, like say for the Patreon page, you kind of have that gallery of finished images that I can show you. Here I can't quite do that. But you can go to the blog there, that wappeliusblogspot.com you just saw fly by. I try to put finished images on there. And actually what I'll be doing on this is, when I do that blog post, or if it's an Instagram post, you can also follow me on Instagram. I'll make sure in the description to put that link there. Now, do I want to? Yeah, I gotta There's some details over here I got to do. I haven't really been doing too much on the back here. I've been focusing on the other areas, so we're going to go back to this now. I know it's just not as much fun as, say, the face and the glowing sensor. It's important nonetheless. Let's get ourselves a little... Yeah, we need some light over here too. Hey, Michael, how's it going? Now we're pretty well along here. What time is it now? So we've been at this about 2 hours or so. And that includes playing around with the base, but we've been able to make some decent progress here. Now I've got plenty of the pink over here. I'm going to see if I can't get a little more of my lighter... Yeah, some of this here. Yeah, I tried to... Well, let's see. I was going to do one yesterday. Now, if I can, I was going to try and do maybe 2 more of these before Gen Con. I think Saturday is the day that I'm targeting for another one of these. Probably not Sunday, since that's Kathy's More Than Dice podcast day. I may do one late Friday. It sort of depends on my recording schedule and how that goes. If I can get a video done during the day, maybe while that's rendering and stuff, I can do one of these. Because I really do have fun with these. Now, once again, trying to get that a little bit of a almost a skin tone color in there. Now, I'm going to go back to the lighter purples here. And hopefully things are going good there, and you've been having some success on the painting projects. I know some folks they've been having a little bit of a frustrating time with the miniature painting. And it's tough because I know that can definitely happen for me. It's since I'm working at so many different things, so many different projects, so many different companies, miniatures and different paints, oil paints, acrylics, weathering powders. There's always something new. And I know sometimes the army projects, or even a long-term, say a diorama for a competition or whatever, sometimes those just get a little bit stale. It's really hard to maintain that momentum. I know in the Army painting series, we discuss that essentially every Army painting series, and I'm just started the Series 11. Yes, that's Series 11. Earlier today. Well, yesterday, I suppose. Because it's not today anymore. There. See, just this highlight, not as intense as this, because this is not glowing. This shouldn't be its own light source here. This is, because we're getting the light from this. Now, I am going to see if I can't get one more. It's really tough to shoot this down in there, but we're going to try it anyway. I think I still want to get that upper lip or lower lip a little bit lighter. Let's see if we can. Can you see that? Now you can. Maybe even a touch lighter. Like that. Just adding that little bit. And I think I'm going to try that over here too. It's tough. It's very tough. Let's go with a little touch of that blue liner in there. Just darken that down. See if I can't do some of the spots on the face here. Yeah, series 11 now. We're going back to oils. It's been a long time. And I miss my oils. I really love oil paints. Those require, it's a different mindset. As I just add a little bit of purple on the inside of that. The oils that you'll be working on, speaking of a lot of things, you'll be working on large creatures and maybe vehicles. It's really designed for working on a lot of things at the same time. And there's a lot of mixing that happens on the miniature itself as opposed to in the palette. And this, I'm hoping to integrate these in with the hair by adding this little bit of the sky blue. You know, this is a lightened sky blue here. All I'm trying to do is catch a few of these ray surfaces. This one for sure. Somehow that one was avoided for quite a while. Rectified that. Now, I'm going to see if I can't maybe work in a little bit of the blue into, yeah, that's what I need to do is let's get a little bit of the blue into here. I don't even know if you can see that. But we have a lot of blue down here. We don't have quite so much here, so I'm starting to work that in. And maybe even into the face here. And I might actually backtrack a little bit on some of the light that I put on the face here and tone this down. Spread it out, yeah. That was just a little too abrupt. Had a little too much in it. That's the ultramarine, faded ultramarine blue there. I think I've got the ears pretty well defined. Let's see if I can't, on that jade collar there, get a couple of light areas, one there and one on that side, and be done with it. And like that. Now what I may try and do is get her stuck on this base. Now I think she went about like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can't reach over for some tools here. Let's see. So I got that. One thing I do need though is I need my drill bit. So just bear with me here while I waltz over here and grab a pin vise like that. So let's pull this off of here without breaking it. There we go. Again, just a paper clip. And now I've got to figure out just where she goes. And I'm going to say I need a hole right about there. Let's see if that's about the right place. And just drilling through the Sculpey and the cork. And just so I don't break any pieces off, I'm just going to hold it this way. So that sets down in there pretty nice. Now I'm not actually going to glue it in. What I am going to do, however, is start to put in some of my little bit of reflected light onto the base here. So again, this is my magenta here. And I'm glad that I didn't. That's working out pretty well. I think that's exactly where I was hoping that some of my glow would be. Yeah, that's about right. Here's a little more. A little more out here. Now I'm gonna get back to a little more of a lighter color here. Again, to indicate maybe there is some glow from above. Just bear with me here while I grab some of this color. So now we're starting to set the environment here a little bit. And I think I want to add a little more back here. And that's gonna set that off pretty nicely. Let's brighten this up over here too. I just need to get a little water in there and make it flow a little more. Yeah, there we go. That's why that really brings out that pattern. Now I'm going to go back to some of my... There, I'm going to grab this brown liner over here too. Just throw it out there. It's going to be quicker to use. Because, well, it's getting late, so I want to make sure you can see all the things like this. You need to see that sort of contrast being added there. Certainly back here. Remember, that was just our initial little glaze that we threw on there. That was not intended as a finished color whatsoever. And you can see we didn't. I may still go in and add some more colors to the pattern on here, but for right now, because that is supposed to be probably some kind of ancient temple floor, and if I make that super bright, as far as the colors and the saturation and stuff. Well, that creates a few issues because it detracts from the figure too. But we're wanting the center interest to be up here, not down on the base. Like so. And it's already if this wanders out of the camera range there. So essentially, dark umber and black would be the same thing. I just didn't have time to go search through those. Wanted to make sure I could get through to all the important stuff here. And I can certainly go back in and we can add some of the magenta when that dries. But I have to think. Now we were wanting to do this a little bit on the transparent side, right? So that's some of the jade. Now she's not glued down yet, so I have to be a little bit careful so she doesn't be spinning around. But I've got to actually get some jade in here now, because if there's going to be this jade down here, and this is supposed to be see-through, well, we have to add some of that here as well. Now, let's see if I can. This is still wet, so I probably won't be able to add that in just yet. A little bit down in here. So it's interesting when you steer straight on. There we go. So now you can start to get a little bit of a look at what we're doing here. This was kind of the vision that I had originally. I had to sort of keep that to myself. I wanted to kind of not spoil the surprise. It was revealed like the final Cylons. Okay. Gotta make sure that the brightest part of this glow is where it should be, and not get too distracted and have it wander away too much from that central point. But now let's start to clean up some parts of the base. So this is yeah, let's tone this down a touch. Yeah, that was gonna be way too much, way too much on the base. This is gonna work better. Because again, looking at the peacock references, this is about what we had. So it was definitely good not to go into the magenta out here. I will just gently let some of this lighter color work its way around out here. And let's just get a few. Now I could make these into little eyes. Maybe we do that here or something. How can we do that? How can we do that? Let's go. I'm going to put little right in here so we make it maybe look a little more chaosy, because hey, that's a word. And down there too. Let's see what we can do to almost encourage that to look like an eye. Let's get some of the jade back in here. Whoops. Let's see. Shouldn't the blue lower part from the... I'm going to add a little bit there. I think this is the part you're talking about right here. Yeah, I bet you that's the part you're talking about. What we can do is actually after I finish screwing around with these little bit here, because again, we both have different views. So okay, yeah. So that's pretty much a top down, right, for you guys. So I've got glow here. I'm gonna put a tiny bit here, but I also have to think, well, see, this is still glowing here, so I guess I can still get away with some over there. I think I can. Let's see if I can do... I'm just trying to screw around over here too. Yeah, I'm going to get some of that jade around in there. Oh yeah, that's definitely... That's helping. See, this is the nifty thing about the live session versus me just recording. Is I can't really converse with anybody and say, hey, do you think there should be more glow here? When there's nobody there. But now there is. And now there is actually a little bit of the blue mixed in with that. Yeah, there we go. I think it doesn't take away too much from the overall blue that's there. Yeah, definitely there's blue in that, so that's good. And this is starting to dry a little bit, so it's letting me put some on there as far as the glow. Yeah, so that's starting to do some fun things. Here, let's make this then brighter. But now I gotta go back over here. I am gonna add a little bit lighter stuff right over here. Alright, well that's good. That's teamwork there. That's some teamwork, some team building exercise. Yeah, I do want to get this touch brighter here. And maybe even, yeah, let's do something like this. This might also help indicate that there's a light right above this. I think you can see it. Yeah, that's going to help. Kind of show that the light is sort of hitting it from an angle. Yeah, so that's pretty fun. Yeah, thanks, Michael. Much appreciated. Now the question is, I will just a touch of that. Yeah, okay, and now a little here. That's nifty right there. Yeah, okay, we're talking about the line that goes this way. Well, now we've got one of those going down this way. That's very cool, and that is courtesy of Michael there. It's almost like having a spotter on a racetrack. Well, we're racing against time here, because this is sort of a complicated thing to be tackling. Well, now 2.5 hours-ish. Yeah. So actually here is another one that this is another thing that I'm working on here for another army painting series. So speaking of eyeballs, so they were trying to do sort of an ice demon here. I think you can see that. Again, this is another series that I'm working on for the Patreon page. As part of the old Creature Caster series. Now I'm gonna add just a touch more of the bright ivory to that. Where are we at here? Let's see if I can't do a little bit of that sort of edge light on some of these pieces here. Can indicate that the light's coming from the side. That definitely, yeah, that's giving that a little more depth now. Yeah, I just forgot that I had added this much fiery light stuff to the outer portion of that. So that's good to have that. Let's see if I can't. That's one I've been wanting to add. I want to add another one here. Now, after all of that initial rough work, and you can always go back and watch the beginnings of these. You know, you go back, you watch the beginning of this. Didn't look anything like this. It was an unholy mess at the start of it. I think it's the hardest thing for people to get used to with this way of painting. That you don't have those immediate sexy results. You have to really hammer away and work at it. And it kind of goes from 0 to 1,000 almost instantly. I know that was the conversation in the last one there was, man, it just kind of goes from looking a quarter finished or a 1/8 finished to 100% finished. All of a sudden, boom, it just happens. And that's the fun thing. That's kind of the evil part of me that enjoys that. Now let's get a little bit of gray. Here we got lots of brown there. Now let's have it be something that's not just that brown color. There we go. Got plenty of rough texture in here. There was a part of me that was thinking of using some new Green Stuff Sowrld foliage that just arrived. And I might still add that. It is in the other room though, so I can't really go and grab that without, or at least I think it's in the other room. So we're lightening this up a little bit here. Remember the filbert edge on these brushes? That's what I like about them so much. This is not a dry brush. There's plenty of paint. Look at that. There's plenty of paint on the brush. But because these bristles, they're soft, I can just sort of scumble away at the edges of these rocks. Which again is just cork, gravel, with the sculpey pieces on top. There we are. Now we're starting to get more overall depth here on our base. I see we got a couple of rocks down there we want to get. Back over here. Now I don't want to do too much of this in here. I want to almost act like this is casting a shadow. Actually, in fact, In fact, I think, oh, if I can find my coal black, wherever that went. Yeah, don't know where it is, so I'm going to go back to my brown liner here. Because I want to build up that shadow like we were just talking about. Sorry, I need a little drink of water here. Oh man, that's good. It's been a couple hours of just talking away. Now, down in here, yeah. What's that I've said several times during this? If you want to have light, you must show some dark. And that's what we're doing now. Trying to think in terms of maybe almost like this is in shadow right here. Makes those lights stand out a little more. Just want to do the edge of base black right over and see how it works out. Yeah, I'd be hitting. Well, it's actually I have hit that with coal black. I think earlier. Let's see if I can't find that coal black laying around here somewhere. Oh, there it is. Fell off the table. There's a little bit. Actually, I really like using this for the edge of bases because one of the other properties, I think I mentioned that these dry very matte. Now, you can't get much more matte black than the coal black, which we are now adding around the outside of the base here. Oh, a little more, yeah. There we go. And now we have just established that's as dark as we can go, and I still got a little bit left, so I'm going to add some of that to the underside here. Darken things down that much more. Oh, definitely under here. Yeah, that's going to give us some nice shadow areas. And this too, what the heck, I'm going to trim that lighter color down a bit. And maybe over here too. So I like these. Yeah, we're starting to get some. Actually, I need to do something up here on the top sleeve there. Here, let's work with this and a touch of my get some of that purple in there. I'm just trying to get myself a, that's it. And here too. And here, let's get a couple of highlights around this top edge if we can. Same thing here. Yeah, that was, I'm really glad I went with the peacocks theme because, and I was tempted to put some of that here on the robe, but I thought, nah. Well, it just, I'd need another hour to plot that out, and sometimes that's just, also there's so much stuff going on here. Sometimes it's like chipping and weathering on vehicles. It looks neat and it's really cool and you want to do it everywhere, and then you find out that, well, you know what, I probably shouldn't have done it everywhere. Probably should just saved a few key spots for it and let it be a neat little special thing instead of just smashing somebody in the face with it. I'm just trying to get myself a few more lights there. got our greens down in there. Yeah, I'm just going to leave those, maybe leave those dark. Speaking of dark, see if I can't take that coal black and the jade and get myself some nifty little darks here. Like that. Now, do I want to use this? This is now some really dark green there. Do I want to get in the armor up here? Are there some areas where I'm just looking for separation or some additional contrast? I might actually try that on the upper lip here. It's delicate because this thing can still spin around and move. I have to keep that in mind as I'm sitting there painting away on this thing. Oh, no, thanks, Michael. That was pretty cool. I lost track of where the heck the coal black went, and I looked down at my feet, and there it is laying on the floor. I have absolutely no idea how the heck it got down there. Now, I'm going to, yeah, there's some of the brown liner. There's a few areas here where I need to, that's it. Just need to get some darker stuff in there. I can take some of that away. Little separation over here. That's nice. And if this were just a normal thing for me, I'd be spending at least another couple of hours, maybe 3-4 hours more, just really refining things and adding stuff. But I think at least what we've done here, it gives you a pretty adequate idea of just the concepts behind. Essentially, I call it the shaded base coat, where it is essentially a base coat, but at the same time you're doing the shading stuff. And all of this stuff where I could play around with this after the fact and do all these adjustments and changes. What if I was just painting like the face and none of the rest of this? The object source lighting. People always say how tough it is for them to do that, or they're too scared of doing it. They don't want to ruin things. Well, what was one of the very first things we established? The object source lighting. I'm going to get a little touch of this blue down in here, because one of the phrases that pays is if a color goes somewhere, it must go everywhere. And that's what we're doing. We're spreading around the love, spreading our colors around. And now you can see why I didn't really mess with the inside of that robe too much, because there's just so much other stuff going on. Why confuse everybody with all that stuff? Oh, let's see if I can't get a little more blue. That's it. I'm just trying to scumble in a little bit there, because I'm trying to take this down into here. And you can see the brushstroke is so gentle that this is not spinning around in place, even though it's not pinned. So I add just a, again, touch of blue there. And see if I can't do some up in here also. Yeah, under here, a little bit there, Yeah, I was getting, the colors were just too much the same. Now we got blue, 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 all the way down, down into the base here. That's working. Now, this is another area where I'm trying to work in some of this blue right in here. There we go. Now that's too intense. I'm gonna take some of it down. Yeah, just like that. Try and blend it into some of the pink colors here. Even into here. So this is, again, that's where you got the skin supposedly kind of showing through a little bit. And on the face here, I think, yeah, that needed to be cleaned out a little bit. Even trying to get some of that blue there on the chin. A little bit more up here. I think I need to find a bit more, but I don't want to make it too much of a highlight here, but I definitely want to encourage a little more of the lighter blue there. And then on the jade, there's a lot of green there, but we've added all these different colors to the skin tone. I'm gonna see if I can't get a little, yeah. So now we're starting to work a little different color into the armor there as well. And what have we got here? We've got some other, again, that's some kind of internal structure. I don't know if that's ribs or armor, exactly what that is. I'm going to try and find me a few little light highlights in here. I guess trying to indicate that maybe there's a tiny bit of glossiness to the jade. Yeah, see now we have another line of highlights that sort of goes that way. We have lines going this way, lines going this way. Now we've got a line going across there, and that starts to set off the upper part of the body. And there's another one of those little masks back here. Just like we've got these masks over here. Like so. Yeah, we've done this essentially with all the ProAcryl paints. As I said, you can find them on the Creature Caster website there. I am hoping that eventually Jason, now check him out, he's Slow Fuse Gaming, he does his Twitch broadcasts. I think once the madness of ReaperCon and Gen Con are over, we're going to try and do some kind of side-by-side live stream where we're both talking and painting, and because he obviously works a little bit different than me. Well, I think most everybody works differently from me, except for the people that have been tainted by all of the videos into the craziness of the shaded base coat world here. Now let's tone down some of the brightness a little bit. Just gonna trying to get my little different focus here for you. And I need to, okay, speaking of jade, I see something back in here that needs to, so that's, well, jade and the bright warm gray. There's a mask down in here. If I you can see it. It's hard for me to see. There we are. So if you want to get more alerts when I'm going to do things like this, these live sessions, you can always, I guess you click the subscribe, but I guess if you hit the bell, that will give you the notifications, or at least better notifications. I'm not sure what the deal is. All the guys that I watch, they all say click the bell, so I click the bell, and it does seem to let me know when they've got something like a new video posted or a live session or whatever. I will be putting it in the description of this once it's actually published. It takes a little while for it to get to that phase. I'll put some links to, say, the blog. I'll put some links to, how I prime miniatures. Just make it easier for you to find some of the other content there. But if you really like this and you're interested in all those other creature caster videos and stuff that's going to be coming down the pike, you can always sign up on the Patreon page. It makes this more possible, because otherwise it would be all commissions all the time, and it means I wouldn't be able to do something like this, because this is not a commission. This was just something to help you guys out, give you some ideas on how to tackle these really amazing creature caster infantry figures. And for lack of a better term, that's just kind of how I'm referring to them, because, well, all the rest are the large demon monsters. Yeah, this one's been really fun. It was complicated for one of these type of episodes. But now this is that sort of fun stage where I can kind of play around with things, maybe lighten something up, darken something down. I see an area where I might just want to get some more contrast or tint of color. Yeah, so that has not worked out too badly. Maybe I will, while I still have, this is still the original fluorescent magenta that I put down darn near 3 hours ago. Oh, and by the way, for those of you who don't know, the homemade wet palette is nothing more than a leftover Chinese food container. Basically you're seeing the lid of the container here. That chamois sponge. And if you check some of the other live sessions, I think I've got a few little mini tutorials on that. Again, this base here, the peacock style base, that's the texture roller from Green Stuff Sowrld. And I love those rollers. I've done so many different things. I just finished a Necron base tutorial for the Patreon page. So I do try to get in different game systems, different styles of figures. I try to do busts. I've got Big Child Creatives figures that I'm working on. And as I said, all of that, it's available on the Patreon page if you can do it. Now, if you can't, well, that's what the live sessions here are for. Trying to make a library of these, kind of like the blog. here. We're gonna get. I think there was one area back here that I was thinking. Ah, right in there. That is right there. Boom. Is that one little like that? Yeah, that's helping. Yeah, it's like the smoke that I did on that one Wild West Exodus figure years ago. Okay. Oh, are there other areas that I need to hit with this? I may, for whatever reason, do a few little magenta areas on this. Possibly not something that would be reached by the glow, but it just helps composition-wise. Yeah, that was another little touch that I needed there. I see how it 1, 2, 3. We have multiple layers of this now, but then over here we don't have the glow, so you get to see, okay, what would those look like without the glow? It gives your mind or your eye a little reference, a comparison, a direct comparison then. And do I need to get more of the, just like Mike was saying on the down here, do I need to, you can also like shine a little flashlight. Do I have one in my pocket? Ah, so something like this, a little flashlight here. Now you're not going to see very much of it, but can you see that red glow there? So that's another, so we'll shine it right here. Yeah, see, you can see the red glow there. Okay. Alright guys, well it is now 5 a.m. so I am going to sign off for now. Thanks everybody for watching. Mike, Bethany, and everybody. First, last. Oh, let's go through here and make sure. Oh, and Maple Leaf Magic and Andre. And Tyler too. So thanks again everybody for dropping in. It's much appreciated. And I will catch you on the next live episode. Probably Saturday, maybe tomorrow. I don't know. But thanks again for watching. And I'll post pictures to the blog so you can see what this looks like and some nice glory shots.